Moor is, or do they call themselves Moors? Negroes, blacks, colored. What would you consider your nationality to be if somebody asks you? That's the big question.
African.
Right. So we get a lot of these: Negro, black, colored, African, a whole bunch of range of titles and names. But we actually have a nationality that we go by. We're considered Moorish Americans. We're descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Not Morocco and Northwest Africa, just the one little country. We're talking about all of Northwest and Southwest Africa. That was once a part, or once called the Moorish Empire. And that's where we say we come from. We all know we come from Northwest and Southwest Africa, but very few of us actually know the term that will be given to us as a people. So tonight we're going to clarify that, if you don't mind. Islam? So thank you for that. I'm going to pick up first something from Marcus Garvey. This is a book you can get here. Always here. Almost always here. You know, if it's not, it means somebody came in and picked most of them up. But the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey are Africa for the Africans. This is on page 6, nationhood. Nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself. Independence of nationality, independence of government is the means of protecting not only the individual, but the group. Nationhood is the highest ideal of all peoples. All right. So in saying that, Garvey came in 1914. You know, he was relieved of being a part of this country, I'll put it like that, in about 1924. And all that time, what is our nationality? African American can be it. Africa is a continent, right? With 54 nations in it. So what would our nationality be? That's the big question, because everybody's saying it's African American. Black is a color. We do know that, right? Colored is colored, so we can't be that. Negro is black and Spanish. We can't be that. Everybody else, the Irish, I mean, let's not even go to the Europeans. Let's stay on the African continent. Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Egypt, Somalia, Tunisia, Morocco, what you can make Tanzania. You have all these nations on Africa, on the African continent, and none of them go by black. And we said we want to put ourselves back into that fold, but if we don't understand the basics of nationality, we miss out, and we miss out drastically. So somebody was sent to us. Marcus Garvey was the forerunner. Somebody else was sent to us by the name of Najee-Ullah. This book is his book, Holy Quran of the Moorish Scientific Americans. This also you can get here. I'm going to read some of what he wrote. This is from chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. A lot of people talk about Egypt, right? You know, you come in here and you can find book on top of book on top of book on Egypt. And they all say that we are the original Egyptians. Egypt founded most of civilization, or all of civilization that you know of today. But Najee-Ullah came and actually brought something that a lot of us didn't know. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. A lot of people say Canaan. Canaan is from the river of Egypt to the Tigris of Euphrates. It's not just Israel, as a lot of people think of today. And when you study up on the Egyptian science, or as we know, the Moorish science, and we'll get into that a little bit later, you'll know that the people of Egypt migrated from the south, what we call South now Sudan. And all of that land was once upon a time called Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa. We talk about that all the time too, right? About Cush. It says in the Bible that Cush was even around during the time of Adam. Otherwise, how could a land be named Cush if that person didn't exist at that time? So, old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the Dominion of Africa, of Mexico. The first true and divine name of Africa. So we actually have the ancient name of Africa, of Mexico. The dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. So you had a group of people who moved in that were not so-called invaders. You know, if you look up and research Osiris and, as we know, Asar, and a couple of the other, as they say, Egyptian deities, you'll find out they were not native to what they call the Nile Valley. They were from West Africa. And this is what he's talking about. Noble Drew Ali is talking about those people. Their domain and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Now, that's something to think about. A lot of people say we migrated here, and we was here before the Europeans and all this other stuff. But when you do the research, you find out it's actually true. And we were here before the land separation. We've been here for a very, very, very long time, and we don't have to argue about who was here, because you find the artifacts all over the place. They look just like us. The River Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt. Can you believe that? Somebody dug the River Nile? People say, no. But you dug the Panama Canal. We did that. So we can do it now with, you know, being subservient to somebody else. Couldn't we do it when we ruled ourselves? Something to think about. And also the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the River Nile westward across the great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. That's what we got to get back to. Marcus Garvey talked about that intensely, right? He got ships for trade and transportation. It wasn't so that we could just go back to Africa and just leave America. No, it was for trade and transportation. We can actually take the products of Africa and take them back, take them over here, or bring them over here and take the products of America and take back to Africa. That's the benefit. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there's no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family. And that's the big key. There's no Negro, black, and colored race attached to the human family. Is there any United Nations seat for black people? No. Colored people. Because those colored people in South America and Central America, they actually have nationalities, right? So, this is something to think about. And like I said, Negro is Spanish for black. Because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human family, or human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. Do we doubt that we are who our ancient forefathers were? We don't study all this stuff in this story if we actually doubt that we are them ancient great people, right? We don't doubt that. So if we know that we are them ancient great people, we should be able to accomplish the same thing now? We agree? All right. There's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator. Do you think that anybody's power extends beyond the one who created you? So why do we go by names that allude to slavery? Why do we continue cultures that allude to slavery that was put on us during slavery? If slavery is over, shouldn't Negro, black, colored, and everything that was outlawed with slavery be outlawed still today? You would think so, right? You shouldn't be still calling yourself the same thing you was called during slavery, right? That doesn't make any sense. Let me see. Let me go back to another page. Time has come when every nation must worship under his own vine and fig tree. Like the Bible talks about, right? And every tongue must confess his own. For sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery. So, we do agree that we was all in slavery, right? But we do know we're not slaves, right? Slave is a people. Slavic people live in Northern Europe, or Northeast Europe. So that can't be us. For sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. So, we follow European traditions, European customs. And because of that, we were put in slavery. You can read about all kind of stuff in your history books about how our people went along with what the Europeans were going along or trying to put on us, and we kept that, and we used it. That's why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and straight after the gods of Europe of whom they knew nothing. So we straight after the gods of Europe? Can we all accept that? We're not arguing that? You know, we do bow down before a cross, a lot of us, you know, or a crescent. Let's be honest and let's be truthful about it. A lot of us bowing down to gods that we did not originally have in Africa. And because of that, we're subject to these people. Moors like to say we go from the back of the bus to the back of the camel. Because we'll leave Christianity and go to Islam and be servants to them. It's not beneficial to us. The last prophet in these days is Najee-Ullah. When we say prophet, we're talking about a chairman of an organization. Somebody who actually came to reveal something to us, who was divinely prepared in due time by Allah to redeem man from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and store up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days there came a forerunner who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey. That's the book we read. So Garvey came in 1914, demonstrated when he was talking about 1914, and he relayed all this information about nationhood, and then in 1926, Najee-Ullah founded the Moorish Science Temple of America for the benefit of establishing a nation, and he is truly the forerunner. We have to acknowledge him for who he was. Garvey was the forerunner of a great movement, and a lot of people don't talk about him no more. You know, his books don't sell like a lot of other newcomers, but they should, because Garvey is amazing. Real amazing. Who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Najee-Ullah. That's whose book this is. Who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion. When we say Allah, you don't mean the same concept that you get when you go to any masjid. We mean if you look up Allah and with a true understanding in one of the hieroglyphic dictionaries, you'll find out that Allah is Ra. 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 It's Ra. And when we understand that, we get into something ancient. Who was prepared and sent to this earth to teach the old time religion, the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God, Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has him to issue to every state throughout the United States. Why is it important to receive a charter? The European colonies received charters from England to come here. All right? And these colonies eventually became estates and states. So, thank you. So, with us receiving charters from the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're actually putting our place or putting our station back on this earth to be able to establish nation states. That's the whole objective of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to establish a nation state here and have a seat in the United Nations. That's the purpose. That's why we call ourselves Moorish Americans, because we want to have our name of our ancient forefathers and be able to function as a government here on this continent, because we're not going nowhere. That the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we come to bookstores like this, so that we can actually learn about our ancient forefathers, the African traditions, and what we did, so that we can actually re-implement them. It's not just to have it, oh, I know this, and our ancestors did this, and our ancestors did this. What are we doing now? You know, a lot of us come from the background of the Bible, and we don't put into play that you honor your ancient forefathers and mothers so that you may establish your kingdom here now, you know. And if we don't understand that, then we lose out. We will be put right back in slavery like we have. And we actually put ourselves into slavery now. We is a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa. Do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. When we say amalgamate, because it says marry, but amalgamate, we don't want to implement their culture in our way of life. And we do that all the time, right? When we do that, we lose out, because they control and have a monopoly on everything that they produce. It's economic slavery. The mental slavery is economic, because we choose to buy what they put out. Religious, social, entertainment. You know, we don't make a place like this the main place we get DVDs. We get whatever's on the bootleg market that they put out. And that's killing us. It's killing us all. And it's not allowing us to be able to teach our children what they need to know. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we, as Moorish Americans, are returning the church and Christianity back to the Europeans. and we're returning to, and we're, as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. There's no way we can actually say that Christianity was given to us in freedom. We all know Christianity was given to us in slavery, unless you're talking about Ethiopian Christianity. And that was when the Greeks was invading Ethiopia. That's just the facts. You know, what about our ancient African traditions? Are we going to rebuild them? If not, then we further put ourselves in slavery. While we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam. And when we say Islam, we're talking about peace. Hetep, or some people may say Hotep. We're going back to that ancient Maya system that we had that established civilization on the planet, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. Covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you're not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed that you will learn to love instead of hate. Do you love yourself? Do you love your people? Yes. And what do you want to do to actually establish them as a nation state that can actually have a fair standing or a fair ground to be able to move as a people economically, spiritually? Because our religions aren't even accepted, right? If you say you follow Yoruba, most of our people don't accept that. You say you practice Ifa or something like that, our people don't even recognize that. That's the reason why Islam was given to us in the way it was given to us, because it was codified. Islam, according to the Quran itself, is actually codified African religion. That's it. That's it. We're not talking about all the hadiths and stuff that come about afterward with the Arab tradition. We're talking about the Quran itself, the Holy Quran of Mecca, which is founded or given out to the people by Prophet Muhammad, and he was himself half African. That's why he sent his first converts to Ethiopia. They didn't first make a pilgrimage to Medina. They were first sent out to Mecca. To Ethiopia. And that king was the one that they was told he's already practicing Islam. They already had Islam, and like we said, those were the Ethiopian Coptics. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. So if we're the oldest people, and we have a school in Egypt called the School of the Prophets, we should be able to honor all the prophets. They had to go to our school in Egypt in order to be sent out back to their people to be recognized as prophets. So that's what we have. So a lot of people ask, well, how do you know we Moors? And who can validate that? Our great historian, J. Rogers. If you're studying anything about Africa and our tradition and our legacy, J. Rogers should be one of your first steps. And this again, all these books that I'm reading came right off the shelf. So you can get the information right here, anytime, any day that they open. This is on page 22. The most ancient names for the so-called black people. You see that? Even he knew they were so-called black people. Are Inhesu, are Nubian, Ethiopian, and Moor from ancient Egypt. He says it. Moors from ancient Egypt. And Negro or Negrita. So when we use, if you do use that word, you would use Negrita from West Africa. That's where the Niger River comes from. But most of us are not using it for that purpose. We're using it for Spanish black. Spanish said Negro, then I'm a Negro, according to the Spanish terminology and mindset. And that's not it. All of the above are native African words. A lot of people say Moor come from French, or it comes from the Greek Mari. No, it comes from the hieroglyphics, or as we call the Meduneta or Unter, depending on how your phonetics put it, and it means the beloved. Yeah, other people call themselves the chosen people. We're the beloved people. We're the first people. It's us. Negrita are the oldest known branch of the human race. So we're talking about the West Africans. Like we said, the Moors are from Northwest Africa. Negro comes from the river Niger. Niger found its way into Latin, and since the people from that region were dark-skinned, Niger, Negra, Negrum came to mean black. Negro, Negrita, Negrito means the people of the great river. Okay, so that means we were called a river? We never called ourselves the river. We were there before the river, right? So what were the people actually called? Somebody else called us the people of the river. We never called ourselves the people of the river. Black and color, like white, are on the other hand European words. Is anybody in this room European? No? So why are we going by European words? Ethiopian and Moor were popularly used to describe the so-called blacks into the 1500s. Shakespeare used Negro only once and used it synonymously with Moor. So, you know, our children go to school, they have to learn Shakespeare, but they overlook the fact that Shakespeare didn't call us black, he called us Moors. You seen the movie Black Knight with Martin Lawrence. He was a Moor throughout the whole movie. You look at the old Robin Hood, when they show Morgan Freeman, he was a Moor. You know, this is what we were known as in ancient times, but we forgot it. And because of that, here in America, we're taught that we're Negro, blacks, and coloreds. A mark that was put on us by Europeans in order to subject us to their property. As long as we're going by Negroes, blacks, and colored, we're still considered the Europeans' property. That's why when Malcolm X said he was going to the United Nations on behalf of the blacks or the Negroes, he did actually go. They sent him back and said that's the U.S. problem. That's domestic. So when he came back, and that's in some of the books you can find here on Malcolm X, when he came back, he said he had to diversify his program because the black nationalism that he had been teaching before he left didn't apply anymore. It didn't apply anymore because you have people in Africa who do not go by that, and they would not support that title being put over the United Nations floor. Just the facts. Africa comes from the ancient Afruka and Kafrika, and the land of the Kafirs. So another great book you can get here at S.O.'s bookstore. So now, nobody can argue that the ancients knew that we're Moors. The scholars, the historians know that we're Moors. So, but what are we doing here in America? What are we to do now that we know that we're Moors? We got to proclaim our nationality. We have to link up in groups all across the country, small groups, because, you know, big groups get lost and everybody want to have a say and, you know, get all dispersed, and that's what happened. From the elders what the elders tell me, that's what happened during the 60s. Everybody was going on their own way. But we have to proclaim our nationality. We have to put together structures that will allow us to speak to the nations of the world as a nation. We don't have it. Not to speak bad or radical about anybody else, but you can't name an African American leader up to date that will tell you their nationality. Jesse Jackson knew that we needed one, right? So when he was running for president, what did he put together? African American. That was something that was put out during his running or campaign for president. He knew we needed it. You do the research on Jesse Jackson, his brother was a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We have pictures of him with Moorish Americans. He was sponsored by Jeff Fort back in the day. So they know that they were Moorish Americans. He knew that he was Moorish American. He had to put together something that will be accepted. Once he did that, what did he do? He's now the #1 point person for the African American people because he put together a structure. We have to put together the same type of structure and form a political campaign, not political party, but a campaign to actually put us in some kind of political setting to function as a government. However small it may be. You got Native Americans that's like, it's 15 of them, but they have seats at the United Nations. We have to do the same thing. With the amount of people that's in this room right now, we can actually send petitions to the city, the state, federal government, and the United Nations to actually get things accomplished and get recognized as a people. But we have to stick together under one flag, you know, and our flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. Let me see if I can find any one of these books. I'm sure you've seen it. They call it the Moroccan flag. It's not the Moroccan flag, it's the Moorish flag. Everybody has stolen our birthrights, even in Africa. Even in Africa. Because a lot of the African nations are set up by Europeans. The ones who colonized them set them up and gave them names that they wanted them to have. And so we don't know who we are here in America. Even when we go back to Africa, we go back there to try to get a better understanding. And we only get the understanding that the colonizers put in their schools for them to come and teach us. So we have to do our research. That's why it's a blessing to have a bookstore like this. We can get a wide range of diverse information so that we can discern for ourselves those who are intellectual enough to read and get a basis. That's why we have to read. We have to read so that we can find out who we were and who we are. Because who we were is who we are. We do agree with that, right?
Yeah.
We can build pyramids again?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, we gotta get your recipe for that.
Ah,
We long lost it.
I'm glad you said that. What is the recipe?
Study and find it out.
Right, the unity. That's the key. It took a lot of people to do that. Or took a lot of power from a few people. But either they had to unite with each other or they had to unite with the environment. You got a lot of theories, right? You know, how they did it. Either it was a bunch of people that was united or a few people who united with the elements and were able to do things. However you want to say it, it's a unity thing. A common concept that we got to get back to. And it's the God self, the God particle within us that we got to recognize. We've lost that because we follow different religions or different theologies that take us away from the God particle within ourselves. And that's what we teach here in America. The Moors have it here in America. You get the book Stolen Legacy, it talks about how the legacy of the ancient Egyptians was given to the Moors. The Moors took it. You know, they didn't take it because they went and raided like a lot of people say. No, they were the gatekeepers of it, the housers of this ancient knowledge. And all we're trying to do as the Moorish Simple America or Moorish Americans is impart it amongst our people. Our people are Moorish Americans. They're not blacks. They're not colored. Excuse me, they're not Negroes. It's impossible. And we see from the historians that, for instance, Garvey said he came with the new Negro concept, right? But he said the new Negro needed nationality. That's what he said. So even the new Negro needed nationality. Why are we still calling ourselves Negroes, blacks, and colors? We're putting ourselves back in slavery. And you see the mass amount of people. If you go and ask 50 people, what is their nationality? You're going to get Negro, black, colored, Afro-American, or African-American. And so, if you go and ask some Mexicans what their nationality is, all I'm going to say Mexicans. El Salvadorians, all I'm going to say El Salvadorians. You go to Ghana, or you go to the Ghanaian community here, all I'm going to say Ghanaian. But when you look at us, we get all these different ranges of information or all these different responses to nationality, and because of that, we're divided. Because of that, we're divided, simple and plain, and nobody is recognizing us anywhere in the world. We can't even get good commerce between us and Africa because we don't have a national structure. Straight out. We tried, and it's a lot of, here in Leimert Park, you have a lot of people who form in different organizations to try to get us to do economics or get economic base between trade and commerce with the African nations. The African nations won't do business with us in that way. They can't, because it'll be breaching the treaties or contracts that they have with the United States of America because we have not formed into a nation yet. So the whole purpose is for us Moors in America to do the research. Find out who the Olmecs really were. Because Olmec means rubber people. We don't call ourselves rubber people. We imported or we exported the rubber, but we're not rubber people. So what were the Olmecs actually called? You know, what were the Native Americans who were dark-skinned here before the Europeans came or even the Chinese came before that and made them what you see is today? All this stuff you can find right here. The brothers can tell you, I've been shopping here for years, and most of the information that I get, I do the research. You go to universities and they tell you to get certain books. Almost all the books they tell you to get in university right here. So Garvey said the self-taught education is the best taught education. Come and find out who your people were. But coming here tonight, you find out plain and simple. They were Moors. All the way from Egypt, all the way to Southwest Africa. They were Moors. And the Moors are back. As the sister said yesterday when she announced that this was a meeting here today or tonight. The Moors are back. But really the Moors never went anywhere. The consciousness that we were Moors went somewhere. And that's how we lost out.
Right.
So we here now, you know, you have a study group here in Leimert Park. One of the brothers can actually tell you that because that's a study group. You have another group on Normandy, and all the groups shop at this bookstore to get the information so that we can disseminate it to the people, because the people don't know. We actually told certain Moors, like we got a book club, a study club, right? And you have to come to this store specifically to get the books, and they order them for us, you know, because this is a one-of-a-kind bookstore. You know, people from Chicago, New York, Atlanta, They all come in here and be like, we was looking for one of these where we stay at and we don't have it. They didn't close them down. You got to make sure that this stay here by making sure the information that is being put out in here is used. We have to use it because as Moors, we had the greatest libraries in Europe. We can't say, well, we have the greatest libraries in Africa. Well, we are from Africa. So, well, we have the greatest libraries in Europe. We have the greatest libraries in Asia. So this is like a private library. And you can build up your private library, or since it is a public library, without being put by the city. You come here and purchase your books to build up your private library so that you can know who you are. And you got to teach it to the children. There's too many, I give them honors, the two brothers, the two elders, because in their own way, by providing information, they're giving it to the children. Too many people got the information hoarded and they don't want to talk to their family members about it. They don't want to tell the children because it might give them, offset them in another way. We got to tell everybody that they're not Negroes, they're not colors, they're not black, they're Moors. And the Moors have a certain way that we practice, and all we're trying to do is rebuild our ancient empire in modern times so that we can have something. Because if not, we're going to continue to be slaves. Woody Lynn said 2012 was the 300-year mark. We passed that. Yeah. We passed that. So he said if it go 300 years, it will go 1,000 or inevitably. It's indefinite. The only thing that's going to stop it is us proclaiming our nationality and practicing it. That's it. We don't proclaim our nationality and then practice what our nationality is and stop being caught up on, you know, gang banging, religious gang banging, culturally gang banging. I ain't talking about the gangbangers that's in the street. I'm talking about the conscious community gangbanging because my teacher says this, my teacher says that. None of them are teaching nationality. If they were, a lot of us wouldn't be here. We'd be there listening to what they're talking about. Nationality is not being taught anywhere but where people who know what nationality is. And for us, it's the Moorish Americans. We teach nationality still to this day. And we teach it everywhere. So, proclaim your nationality. Find some Moorish Americans that you can get with, proclaim your nationality, and once you get the information, come to this bookstore and buy every book you can find. It's talking about your ancient ancestors. All of them. We shop here, we come here like maybe once or twice a month. And we spend money to make sure, you know, I like buying children's books because I know the children need some information. And that's what we have to do. We have to make sure we know. Because children, okay, you can tell them anything you want to. But if they don't see you doing it, what's going to happen? They're not going to follow. So you have to know and then implement it for the children. Once they get it, they got it. And then they're going to take it to their friends and it's going to get around. That's what we have to do. That's proclaiming and practicing. It's not necessarily, you know, a lot of people say, well, Moorish, you got to have this type of paperwork. The paperwork will do nothing if you don't know nothing. Then people charge $1,500 for this paperwork, that paperwork will get you this packet. No, the packet is you. The God particle in you actually proclaiming and practicing. When you do that, then we can take the murder party back. Simple as that. We can actually say, okay, we nationalizing this. That's why I like Cuba. Castro said, okay, yeah, y'all spend all this money. Russia, y'all send all these guns. Okay, we nationalizing this and we sending this to Angola. That's why I don't like Cuba. Because he understands nationalization. We got to nationalize our stuff. We've been here for so long, we can nationalize this and keep this. Instead of having some other foreigners come in by and we're going to rent it to you. How you going to rent something to me on my own land? We just read that, you know, we was here before the Europeans, the Asians, and everybody else. So this is our land. I don't care if you built something. Somebody come build. You own a piece of property. Just think about this. And I'm going to close out. You own a piece of property. Somebody come and build a lemonade stand on your piece of property. It's considered vandalism by the police, right? Okay, this is all considered vandalism.
Right.
This is your land.
Right.
You've been here. You own it. You inhabit it for the last 5,000 years, 10,000 to be sure. And somebody come and build something on your land. It's not, they don't have rights to that. It's vandalism. But you can't argue that in this system. That's why Malcolm had to say you have to take it out of this system and argue in the United Nations. World Court. You have to bring them up on charges. You cannot bring them up on charges in their court. So that's why we need a nation. As a nation, we can argue these things internationally, and we have the South American bloc. Just look up the United Nations. The South American bloc, the African bloc, and the Asian bloc. The European Union is one bloc. In the United States, they always show you European Union. No, look up the other blocs who block the European Union from doing a lot of stuff. It's the Asians, the Latino bloc, and the African bloc. It's 54 nations in Africa. That alone outnumbers the European nations in Europe by itself. So we form a nation ourselves, then we can actually add to that and do something right in the belly of the beast.
Islam.
Right in the belly of the beast. Change policy right here at home and take responsibility. Don't necessarily have to be, oh, we're going to take over revolution. Take responsibility for our own community, where we live at right now. And we're going to spread and it's going to grow. But first you got to take responsibility for your community right now, for your economy right now. Are we employing our children? Or are they going to school, somebody else's school, to work for somebody else? That's what we mean by take responsibility for our own community. So you have these books. Look around, find some more books that you can get that's going to tell you about your people. These three are very specific, and I like them myself because they very, very, very useful. And learn about your nationality and divine creed. Please, do the research and spread the word. There's too many people I meet around the city who don't even know this bookstore exists. And most of them don't even know that they're African. Like, they tell me that. I met a 15-year-old who said, well, I don't have nothing to do with the pyramids because the pyramids are in Egypt and the Egypt is in Africa and I'm not African. This is what the youth say. So we have to get the information and the word out that this bookstore is here. Find some $5, this little cheap book. It's $10 now. Get one of these and give them out. Yeah, it's very inexpensive. Yeah, excuse me, thank you. Inexpensive. Inexpensive book to actually hand out to the people, the youth, so that's something they can read. But when you do that, it opens up their eyes. I'm from the same streets. I was doing the same thing everybody else was doing. Somebody handed me a book. That's all it took. Somebody handed me a book and it changed my life. And from my life, I influenced other people to maybe want to change theirs. That's all it takes. That's all it takes is for us to actually take an interest in ourselves, and others will take an interest in us, and then they will take an interest in themselves. And then it spreads. It spreads, and then we can actually have more of these. We can have SOM franchises, if they willing. You know, that's really what we want to do. We want to build economy. And with that, I say peace and love, and I will open the floor for any questions. Any questions at all? Any questions? No questions? Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Please do.
I've been doing a lot of research myself. And me, as far as the title, I would say Black African, for lack of a better term that I feel suitable, that I could really call myself. I understand the African continent, how big it is, but it is so big and there's so much information in this. So much of the information is lost. It's like I refuse to call myself an American for the same reason I don't say the pledge, because I do not subscribe to the things that this country does. Okay. So if I call myself an American, that means I agree with what they do, and I don't. So, but even to call myself an African, I mean, there are other original names for that continent. You know, an African is the one that sticks because a Roman general conquered a spot in Africa and they named the whole continent after him. Piece of history. So because of our introduction to this country through slavery, like you mentioned about the pyramids, there are a lot of rituals and we are the original people, but we've lost so much of who we are in the way that they conquered us and bring us here through the missionaries, our language, our history, the whole shebang bang. So it's really hard to identify. Now, I'm saying all of that to say, even as I say black for my ignorance, my understanding of Moors, and I've done some studying and reading on that, is that even the Moor is really not a race of people. It is a description of a color. It's the same thing like Jews call themselves Jews, but they're not Jews. There's no such thing as a Jew. I mean, even in their literature, they'll say the exact same thing. So my question is, as far as the Moors, I understand a little bit of history, how the Moors conquered Spain, blah, 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 800 years we ruled and stuff, and that's how Europeans describe the people that went there and did the conquering as Moors. It's a description of the color. They still, I mean, Ireland's getting ready to separate itself from England. You know, that's the latest thing. But Ireland, at one time when the people was here, was considered niggers because of the skin. Now, the Moors went there, and they introduced a lot of the culture that the white Europeans, including England and France and all of that, you know, consider high technology now. But I can't say who I am because I don't know. Now, my understanding as far as the Moors is that I'm not sure if they're from Morocco totally, but you said they're not. Because if you look at the Moroccans there, they're light-skinned. They're not the original people inhabiting there. And the same thing with Egypt. Egypt has no respect for the Sphinx and the pyramids and all that other stuff because they're not the original Egyptians. So I know about the Tuaregs, if I'm pronouncing it right, in the Sahara Desert. I've heard information that the Moors were once part of that tribe. They split, and the Moors, so-called Moors, not so-called Moors, but what we call Moors today, went to Spain. So I'm trying to understand, if I'm going to understand who I am, as far as Moors go, is what's the connection between the Tuareg, Morocco, and the Moors?
The Tuareg is a tribe of Moors. Morocco, as a nation state today, is not the same Moroccan empire of the old. Mauritania, Mauritius, you have the Western Sahara, parts of Sudan, Mali. It extended all the way down. And we know for a fact that our people were taken from these regions. I mean, you can get any map of the transatlantic trade, slave trade, and you will see that we were taken from these regions and brought to the islands and so forth. But when we talk about Moors, we know about that history. But we know that we were here. That's why we read out the Holy Quran of Moorish Science Temple of America. We were here before any of that even took place. We've been here. And so, yeah, we're connected to them through blood and through history. But we are our own people here, and we've been here before the modern day Morocco even came into existence. In fact, we here in the Americas, as the Moorish Americans, we were flying the Moorish flag before Morocco was ever allowed to fly their flag that they call Moroccan today. Or should I say our flag that they call Moroccan today. We was flying it here back in 1928, 1927, from sure 1926, because we have a picture of it.
Okay, but I'm still a little confused because if the Moors were part of the Tuareg tribe, then wouldn't the tribal name, the Tuareg, supersede a description of a color?
No, the Tuareg were part of the Moorish nation. Like, you have 7 clans of the Cherokees. You wouldn't call yourself just one part of the Cherokee, one of those clans. You call yourself the Cherokee Nation. And right now, you have tribes of the Native Americans, as they call themselves, or Indians. But they're recognized as American Indian Nation. And they have little tribal nations within that, but they're a nation as a whole. The Tuareg group, you have the Zanata, you have like different clans within the Tuareg tribe, but it's a tribe nonetheless. Just like Ashanti, it's a tribe. It's not necessarily a nation of people. It's a tribe. The Igbo is a tribe. These are tribes that exist in Africa, just like you have tribes that exist here. Nations, you have clans, tribes, nations. And so the Tuareg, the Moors are not a part of the Tuareg tribe. The Tuaregs are a part of the Moorish nation.
Okay, so the Moor, the word Moor means a race of people.
Yes.
It's not described as different colors.
Yeah, it means the beloved race of people. It's the original race of people. They don't have it now, but you can order it, the hieroglyphic dictionaries by Budge. In the book, you can look up more. It means the beloved. Martha Ashby, in one of his books, he has a glossary. I don't have it. I think I might have it in the car. Can you check and see if I have it's a book in the car by Martha Ashby. He talks about how they called themselves the Moors, Tamari. The land was called Tamari. It was never called Egypt. Egypt is Greek. They said it was called Kemet. No, that's the fertile ground or the fertile mud that's by the river. Outside of that fertile mud is called the Jusrik, which is the red desert where you get desert from. But the land itself was called Tamari. That's the oldest name that the people called themselves. They never called themselves commissions or whatever you hear people saying now. They call themselves Tamari. And that's why it talks about in this book as well that the Moors, by J. Rock, the 100 Major Facts about the Negro. He says that Moor comes from Egypt. So when we talk about the original people, even Kush was a tribe. It became a nation later on because they expanded so vastly. But it was a tribe. But when you look up the capital of Kush, it was Meroe, M-E-R-O-E. So even they knew that they were Moors. It's just that many of us going through the different European systems of schooling, we hear it from them. Oh, well, Moor, we call them black, and the word for us in our language for black is Mari, M-A-U-R-I. But no, that was our word first. That was our word first, and it's an actual race of people, or, well, the race is Asiatic. Because we know that Asia was the continent. It's just a word that means the landmass in general. But yeah, we are, Moors are a race of people. You're welcome. Any other questions? I'm going to go further. Thank you. All these books I got from here. You see, this is one of the books that I was reading from. Brother, I see your hand.
Actually, to explain to the brothers about the connection of the Moroccan Empire, world, even outside of what we call the continent of Africa today, to maybe like kind of give them a perspective of the Moroccan Empire in reference to the dominions that we're inside of.
The Moroccan Empire expands across the world. We were Northwest Africa, Southwest Africa. We were in Asia. You have the Mauryan dynasty of India. You have the Mori, the M-O-R-I dynasty of Japan, with the pyramids, as they know, or they talk about now, that's in Japan, underwater. You have the M-O-H-R, Moorish group of Russia. You have the Maoris of Australia and the Polynesian, M-A-O-R-I of New Zealand. These are the Maoris who, you know, a lot of them nowadays, they've been mixed in to where you don't know because of their complexion. But these were the ancient tribes that we know of as Moors. It's like 18 different ones. Go ahead.
Japan, the Amuru Khan.
There you go.
And what you would call the Mayan down in Belize. The term American pretty much came from.
Right. Say it again.
Amuru Khan, which is the first world government in the world.
The Amuru Khan.
Amuru Khan, yep.
So when you were saying you may not like America, that didn't come from, you know, Americo Vespucci as they try. They always trying to claim they something. Leo Africanus, Americo Vespucci, they didn't come up with nothing. That's us. That's all. They've always borrowed from us and told us some watered down story so that we can believe them and their way of life. That's how we, like I said, we're following the gods of Europe.
Can you elaborate on the word Mexim? Also, Asian, called Asiatics. Where does that come from? And was Asia at one time considered the world?
Yeah, Asia was one time considered the world. Asia comes from Asa, which is an ancient Babylon word. And we know you only hear of Asia and Asia Minor, but you don't hear of Asia proper, you know, in Asia Major. Asia proper was here in Africa. You have Asia, what they call Asia, and you have Asia Minor, you know, but Asia was the globe in general. And it goes back to the ancient Babylonian script. So that's where that comes from. Now, M.S.T. M.S.T. is, again, a hieroglyphic word. It's the English version of it is M.S.T. The ancient version of it is Amachum. Amach is a place of worship. The M on the end of it is in. So it's talking about those who are in the place of worship, or that which is the place of worship within. When we talk about the God particle. And so we know that we were formed from this land, or formed from the land itself. We talk about we were made out of clay. And so we were taken from that portion of the world, and that's where the word actually comes from, you know, where we were taken from. And we know that this is the secret garden. Any other questions? Yes. The Empress of the Washita, great sister. She's connected to the Washita through her grandmother. She actually was able to get 69,000 acres back from the government because of the Peace and Friendship, the Louisiana Purchase Treaty. I went to the land when I was down, because I used to stay in Louisiana. I went to the Poverty Point property, or they call it Washita proper. And the sister, the Empress, was actually a politician in the state of Louisiana. And she was able to make state reservations or state parks out of most of the mounds in the area to prove that we were the founders of civilization here in America. When you look up mound builders, you will see our origin here in the United States of America. She did a lot of great work. She took our plight to the United Nations. She is holding, well, not hers herself, but a group or her family is holding a seat of the Moors, because there's 5 of them. They're holding one of the seats of the Moors in the United Nations as of right now. She put a petition into the United Nations, I think the petition 207, and she has been one of the #1 people amongst the Moorish American group that has taken it all the way. She just needs the help. They need the help, because now it's her son and her granddaughter. They need the help of other Moors to become conscious and assist them in getting our issue across to the people. Any specific that you were looking for as far as, the 5% Nation. The 5% Nation, which was founded by Clarence 13X, or as some people call him, Father Allah. The reason why they use the symbol that we use, the star and the crescent and the 7, is because some of the founding members of the nation, of the 5% Nation, were Moorish Americans. The 5% Nation was founded as like a curriculum for children. You know, the father always talked about giving this to the children in the streets. And so while a lot of people were trying to hold on to it, you know, wouldn't give it to the people in the streets, he left, you know, because he saw the confusion that the Moorish Temple of America, the Nation of Islam, had between each other, which it should never be. And he found that the Moorish Temple of America was the foundation of the Nation of Islam. And when he found this out, he formed his own organization as the 5%ers, and he went out like he always intended to teach the children. And he has become most successful because what you call modern day hip hop is nothing but 5% gospel. And to prove what I have to say about the connection between the Nation of Islam, this book you might be able to get from El Salon. You might not, because it might be out of print. I mean, I talked to Karanga, he said it was out of print, so that's why you got to buy the books when you see them, because otherwise they go out of print and the information isn't available anymore. Let's see. This is Introduction to Black Studies by Maulana Karanga. Yeah. In 1913, Noble Drew Ali established the Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish Central American, Newark, New Jersey, and began to teach a synthesized version of Orthodox Islam, Barbarism, Christianity, and various extractions from Oriental philosophy. The main contention of Noble Ali's religious nationalism were that the key to civilization and liberation of African people in the U.S. lay in the discovery and acceptance of their nationality as Moors. Islam was the only instrument for black unity and advancement, as two whites were the opposite and negative to the blacks and were soon to be destroyed. The need to obey the law and refrain from racism, and finally 5, the essentiality of love and harmony and peace in the world, and especially among the blacks. When it goes down, it says, his stress on name, land, and nationality. Ali's basic intentions and principles lay a basis for the Nation of Islam, which came into being after it. A lot of people like to argue, oh, well, the Nation of Islam came first. We don't have time for that. That's why we let the scholars tell the story. The Nation of Islam came after it. His stress on name, land, and nationality, his division of the world into dark and white peoples, his political conservatism, and his conception of divine retribution of Allah on whites all find subsequent expression in the ideology and practice of the Nation of Islam. However, although the black Islamic tradition owes its origin to Noble Ali, so Noble Ali was the founder of Islam in America, and he taught it differently than everybody else. It realized the most definite and development and recognition under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam. They took the information and they used it in a way that our people could understand, because still to this day they don't understand nationality. So he turned the nation or nationality into the Nation of Islam. And that's where they, like I said, that's where they get their start. That's why Clarence broke off from them a little bit before Malcolm left, because he was a student of Malcolm, and he founded the 5% Nation. Any other questions?
I've heard that the word America stems from the ancient word of Africa, and that's also the modern name Africa. A-M-E, Maxim, R-I-C-A, Africa. Is that true?
I heard it. I have no proof of it. Yes. Yes, there is a connection. Morocco, the name comes from Marrakesh. Marrakesh, old name was Marrakush. It was the Moors of the Kushite Empire. And so that name, as we know, Aksum was the capital at one point in time of the later kingdom of Ethiopia. And so, like, that's why he teaches, that's why Noble Ali teaches that we're not Ethiopians, we're Moors, and he connects us, he connects the two, because yes, it was the name of an ancient empire that we had back then, and it is connected to a Mexican because it was one of the capitals. Like, Morocco itself is nothing but, it serves the purpose, like DC serves for the United States of America. That little bitty portion is only, it's only the capital. It only served as the capital of our empire, but it was not the whole of our empire. So that's why, you know, a lot of people get stuck on that little bitty Arab country of today known as Morocco. But no, it was actually a vast empire that extended northwest and southwest Africa. Any other questions?
Could you unveil some of the ancient names in contrast to the modern names of the places here or the states within, like New York? We know that was changed. New Mexico, California, some of those ancient names that we can find and relate to allow us to know exactly where we are and unveil what this North American continent actually is.
Yeah, this is a little pamphlet we're putting out. You might be able to get maybe 2 or 3 of them tonight from here, from Essalon. On page 125, it has ancient names and names after 1865. The Sea of Galilee was an ancient name for the Lake Erie. Bethlehem was an ancient name for Pittsburgh. England was one of the ancient names for New Jersey, Virginia, and Delaware. The Morocco was also a name of Virginia. Spain was New Mexico, Arkansas, Arizona, Wyoming, and Utah. Ali Boumar, which is what became Alabama. That has an ancient name. The Moabites became Mobile, or Mobile, Alabama. House of Canaan, Baltimore, Maryland. The Russian was South Dakota. France was Missouri. Paris became St. Louis. China became North Dakota. Like, these are actual places that we used to call, or actual names we used to call some of these places here in America. The Muslim prison was the island of Albania. Egypt, the Ohio River to the south. And you can actually find Moab, Egypt, Cairo, Mecca, all up in Indiana, Chicago. Yeah, you can find all these names over there still to this day. France is the East Coast, was known, modern day Africa was known in Southeast Asia by the Moors. Mount Calvary is Capitol Hill. The Magna Carta Hall is Constitutional Hall. Nova Scotia was ancient Scotland. New York State was once called Germany. Virginia, like I said, was England. California was Spain and Japan. Montana was once considered Spain. Alabama was once considered Egypt. Louisiana, Algeria, and they still have Algiers in Louisiana to this day. Algiers, Louisiana. Ohio, Cleveland was Libya. Sandusky was Antioch. Chicago was Mecca, as we Moorish still call it Mecca. Detroit was Medina. Venezuela was Rome, and Argentina was Europe at one point in time. These are some of the ancient names.
That would tie in with California being part of the Barbary Coast.
Right.
San Francisco, they had to actually
Barbary Coast Trail. Yeah.
Still actually on the ground instead of the Barbary Coast. Santa Barbara, again, which were the Berbers, who were the Moors here in California. Known as the Galileanos. Galileanos were later known, became known as the Chumash Indians. And Chumash, or the Moabite god, or the Moroccan god, one of the names of ancient forefathers here in California. They used to make a pilgrimage to Morris Bay.
Exactly.
Still recognized as the old pilgrimage spot for the Chumash, from Moorish and the Indians.
That's it. You get it right on the dot. And where did they inhabit? College birds. You know, they inhabited the best parts of this California that we now don't even see ourselves able to live in. So that's why we said we got to be able to take our concepts back so that we can take our land back. And that's the last question, brother. Brother Davis Bay.
In 1886, Beverly Hills was on Morocco Junction.
Right.
And so when we look at Morocco, what the Europeans did, what we have to remember is they changed three things. They changed our chronology, our geography, and our history. So within that, America is Morocco. When you know linguistically how it's constructed, the A on America is what is known as a prosthesis in linguistics. When you add a vowel to a word to change its value phonetically. It's also known as a process called umlaut. So when you change the O or in Morocco, I'm going to change it, A-E-R-O-U. So if you look at America, A-M-E-R-I-C-A, that's Morocco. So the process was a prosthesis on Morocco with the A. And the umlaut process, which is a German linguistic discipline to change the phonetic value of words. So you got Morocco well hidden in the word America. So when people say, a lot of people say, I'm not an American, I say, I am.
I'm Moroccan. So with that, we bring it to a close. Pick a book before you leave. You got these, it's on the table.
How much?
That book, this book is $25.
Give it to me. Right now.
All right.
So,
You gotta get it from, you gotta get it from him.
I want that one right there.
You gotta go up there and get it. Yeah, we'll sign it. I'll sign it for you. Take it to them. 45.
It's long.
So we only have 3.
So what's up?
Only brought 3. Yep. So can you get us to special edition? We will bring more soon. Yeah. But you got other books that's gonna help you out. This one I just had one. This one right here, They Came Before Columbus, is right there. It's an excellent book by Ivan Van Sertima explaining to our people that we came to this continent way before anybody else. It'll help us out. This is what? Only $14.95. I said this one is $10. It's on the shelf as well. I just got this off the shelf. The fact that we need a nationality, you know, Marcus Garvey is always the greatest help. And you got the Holy Quran and Moorish Science Temple of America, book wrote by Prophet Noble Jew Ali, who actually came to tell us that we were Moors in America. In 1913, he was the first to do so, and the way he did it. And all of these can be picked right off the shelf right now and purchased. So that's it. There's no more questions. And, please make sure you get a book before you leave.
It's long.
That's all for you already. That's all for you already.
Come on. You some at the house?
No, we only had a special limited edition. All these on the desk are here.
Yeah, it's long.